Hi, I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Marshall. Welcome to Tumble, the show where we explore stories of science discovery.
Today, we're doing a mailbag episode.
Oh, that's great. We got all these letters here. I'm just throwing them around.
It's a mail explosion here in Tumble HQ. Well, Marshall, before you make too much of a mess,
here's another one.
We are going through all of our digital mail, emails, reviews, and comments. Finally, you'll get answers to some of your most burning Tumble science questions. Stay tuned.
So before we get started, you may have heard about the devastating flooding in central Texas, which is a place really close to our hearts because we lived there for many years, and that's where we started Tumble. So if you can, I want you to please consider donating to the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund, which will directly distribute funds to local organizations providing rescue, relief, recovery services, and flood assistance to impacted communities. Just go to bit.ly/TumbleTexasFloods or click the link in the description to donate. And please, please donate. They definitely need your help.
All right, let's get into our mailbag.
There we go. Nice segue.
So, Marshall, why are we doing a mailbag now?
Well, so one thing that if you're a listener to our show, you know that like every episode has a question from a listener, or maybe not every episode, but most of them. And we get a lot of questions in our email from listeners and also comments on Spotify and all kinds of stuff. And we really can't answer them all on the show.
But we appreciate every single one.
We appreciate every single one. And I actually do read and respond to every single one, even though it might take me sometimes as much as 3 weeks to get through them all.
We are humans.
We
are not podcast robots here.
Not yet.
Not yet, yes.
Okay, so like I said, we get a lot of science questions, and as you've probably guessed, it really takes us a lot of time and work to answer them with like a full original episode, which, by the way, we are working on for season 11. There will be more. Stay tuned.
I'm so excited about those episodes.
They're going to be great. But anyway, we capture all the questions in a big question database, and we went through it to pull out some of our favorite questions that haven't made it to episodes or aren't quite full Tumble episodes themselves, and we sent them to a bunch of our science advisors who are scientists who've been on the show or who are friends of the show.
And they sent us back some amazing answers that we can't wait to share. But before we get to that, we want to share what our listeners have been telling us in our reviews.
Ooh, awesome. That's the one thing I don't personally go through. I think you do all the reviews.
They are really fun to read. And yes, we still get a lot of reviews about cats.
All right.
This first one comes from Poto 1956, and it's titled Awesome.
Okay.
I love heart emoji your podcast. Need, another, live tour,
Okay.
And then there follows a spot the difference.
Okay. Yeah, we get a lot of if someone can explain to me someday, like, why are all of our reviews spot the difference? I'd love to know. But by a live tour, do they mean like they need to go on a tour, or do they want us to go on a tour?
I think they want us to go on a tour, and we do have some upcoming live events for starting in the fall, which we'll announce when we can. But if you want to see Tumble in your town or city or rural cow pasture, email us and let us know, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. Okay, next review.
Okay, this review is titled, I love your podcast, smiley face, from user Joe Pavey. I listen to this podcast every single day during the morning when I eat breakfast, pancake emoji, and when I snuggle up with my dog Chai, dog emoji, at night, smiley face emoji, followed by dog emojis. That is a really cute name for a dog.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's brown.
Probably.
I love being part of your daily routine.
Yeah.
That's really special. Okay, this one's from Georgia, and she says, "Why do you think cats are evil? Question mark. Exclamation point." @ followed by cat emojis.
Okay.
I think this one is directed to you, Marshall.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, to be clear on what, I really think, obviously, I don't think any animal is evil. I think that's a human thing. But I do think it is really funny to imagine that cats and their little brains are always secretly plotting to take over the world.
It's more of like a cartoon cat that is.
No, I think like a real cat.
Oh, okay.
Like you're cuddling with it and it's purring and it's thinking if only I could get enough minions.
Yes, it's thinking about how it could use AI for its own purposes.
Yeah, but it's really maybe just cats are big procrastinators, and that's the only thing that has stopped them.
Yeah, it's we'll take a nap now. Oh.
Naps are just
I'll do it later.
More appealing.
Okay, next review also titled Awesome Smiley Face. This is an amazing podcast, and I would totally recommend it to anyone who loves science, dinosaurs, and puns. Thank you so much for this amazing show. P.S. Cats are not evil. P.P.S. I have a question. Will the universe ever end? Ugh.
Oh, well, I mean, I think I know the answer to that question, but, we can verify it with a scientist.
Yes. And if you have questions and you think of them while you're writing a review, also email them to us at tumblepodcast@gmail.com so we can actually respond to you and figure out how we can maybe make that show happen.
Yeah.
The other review says it's just shrimp. And it says, make one of shrimp.
Make one of shrimp.
I think that's a question request about shrimp. And if I was able to email this person, I would say, what do you want to know about shrimp and how would scientists find out?
Yeah, I mean, those are things you need to know.
All right, so we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will answer your questions. Shrimp. All right, we're back and it's science question answering time.
All right, here we go. So we've queued up 4 questions and we sent them to our science advisors who sent back their answers in voice memos. So let's start first with a question from Zoe.
Hi, my name is Zoe and I'm 9 years old. My question is, why are 4-leaf clovers so rare? I think it's because there has to be certain conditions. I think that it might have to be rainy and warm. I'm guessing this because I did a test in my yard where I monitored the weather around a certain patch of grass where I found 4-leaf clovers and wrote down the number of 4-leaf clovers I found each day in the patch of grass.
You're amazing.
I mean, it's really, you get the science thing. You're doing science. That's a very well-designed experiment.
Yes, Zoe is an amazing example of how you can literally do science in your yard. So let's turn to the scientist that we've invited to answer Zoe's question, David Lowery. David is a plant biologist, and you might remember him from our episodes about monkey flowers, the monkey flower mystery, and the seed treasure map. So here's what David has to say.
Turns out the scientists actually don't know the answer to this question. We believe that it's a combination of genetics and the environment. And scientists have been trying to track down the genes for the 4-leaf clover for a long period of time without a resolution so far.
So genetics are DNA, the code or instructions for life that's inside every living thing. So David is saying that it's a combination of where 4-leaf clovers are growing and the DNA that they have inside of them.
Basically, who their clover parents are.
When 4-leaf clovers are grown in certain environmental conditions, they actually will just form 3 leaves, like your normal clover. And it's really hard to figure out what conditions will make a clover that has a genetic propensity to make 4 leaves actually have more than 3 leaves. And did you know that some clovers actually have 5 leaves? It's even rarer than the 4-leaf clover, and also seems to have a genetic effect But like the four-leaf clover, it's an interaction with the environment. So it's both nature and nurture that contribute to making a clover have four leaves. As part of answering the question about what causes a clover to have four leaves, I reached out to 3 different clover experts. These actually exist. And all 3 of them confirmed that the genetic basis of the four-leaf clover had not been discovered yet. One of them referred to this as their white whale project that they're pursuing and trying to find. And another one pointed out that in a lot of his experiments, when he treated the plants with heat, he would more often get four-leaf clovers to form. So it does seem like there's an environmental effect that controls the four-leaf clover, but it also has a genetic effect. It does seem like there's an environmental effect that controls the four-leaf clover, but it also has a genetic effect. I'm actually surprised that there isn't an explanation for why some clovers have 4 leaves.
You know, when we got this question, I did think that there was going to be an answer to it.
Yeah, I thought it would be like really straightforward and it wouldn't be like just, we don't know yet. We're still trying to figure it out. Who knew that we would stumble on somebody's white whale?
Yeah, so in case you don't know, a white whale is like it's a reference to Moby Dick.
It's the thing you're hunting that you'll never find and that ultimately kills you and everyone you know.
Don't say that. Kids, read Moby Dick.
Yeah, read Moby Dick and keep trying to find out about Clover because it won't kill you.
Anyhow, it is incredible that the experiment that David talked about, the clover scientist doing, is literally what Zoe did in her yard.
I know. Zoe, I was impressed before, but now, double impressed. Good job. Good job. That's all I can say. I guess keep testing, and maybe, Zoe, you'll be the person who gets to crack this mystery.
Yes, and it will make you lucky for your entire life. There's science and then there's luck, and they come together in this because you will have those 4-leaf clovers.
All right. Well, so are we ready to go on to our next question?
Yes.
Our next question comes from Shenna.
Hello, my name is Shenna, and my question is it possible for only one side of our brains to be asleep?
So is it possible for only one side of our brains to be asleep? So I imagine she's kind of thinking about dolphins, right? Because dolphins sleep with only one half of their brain at a time, which is part of what makes them cooler than octopuses.
Octopuses don't factor in here.
All right, fair enough. But anyway, well, so for this one, we asked a friend of the pod, Rachel Berman, who was one of our earliest guests on, what was the episode she was on?
It was called The Case of the Missing Brains, and she's a neuropsychologist.
All right, well, here's her answer.
Yes, it is possible to put one half of the brain to sleep at a time. We actually do this as part of a medical procedure when somebody has something called uncontrolled epilepsy. And epilepsy is when the brain generates mixed up signals, and these signals can cause uncontrolled movements or strange perceptions that are called seizures. And if medicine doesn't work for these patients, then doctors sometimes might need to consider removing the part of the brain or the tissue of the brain that's causing these mixed up signals to stop the seizures. But the doctors need to make sure that that part of the brain isn't also responsible for some really important functioning, like being able to produce speech or remember words or remember pictures that you see. So they do a test called a WADA exam. And during this test, there is a drug called sodium amobarbital that's injected into a blood vessel, and this reaches one side or hemisphere of the brain. And the drug puts that side of the brain to sleep by making it much less active. And once this side is asleep and the other hemisphere is awake, then the doctors start a series of tests where they show the patient different pictures and have them read words aloud and repeat things back to them and try to move their hands. And then the drug clears after just a couple of minutes, and then they inject the other side of the brain and do the exact same thing again to find out which part of the brain or which side of the brain is responsible or necessary for carrying out these actions. So this helps the scientists figure out which side of the brain is in charge of language or memory or word processing, and which side of the brain is not responsible for that. And if the seizures are coming from a part of the brain that's not responsible for those things, then the patient should do pretty good if they've removed that section of the brain.
I just think science is amazing.
So what I heard is that it is possible for one side of our brains to be asleep, but it's through a medical procedure.
Right. We can't just do it we can't just concentrate and try to do it.
Yes. And it is really cool how scientists will use that to figure out what is controlled by different parts of the brain by being able to control how our brain is actually functioning.
I know. I mean, it's pretty wild that they can so precisely put a part of the brain to sleep, but that they don't quite fully know what it does. It's kind of like when you go to the basement fuse box and you try to figure out what does what, but nothing's labeled.
This sounds like a dad experience.
It's like, I pulled this switch. What does that do? Okay, that moves your left hand. Got it. Okay. Pull this other switch.
All right, kids, do not go do that in your basement fuse box without your parents.
Yeah, make sure your parents are with you, or at least you have their permission.
Okay, I do have a joke that I came up with about this.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, what did the neuroscience who discovered the water procedure say?
What?
What a procedure!
Oh, gosh.
His name was probably Wada.
His name, yeah.
Their name was probably Wada.
it's probably, yeah.
They were probably constantly like, what a great barbecue I've hosted.
All of this is telling me that it's time to go to the next question. So our next question comes from Eloise.
Hi, my name is Eloise. I'm 6 years old, and my question is, why do fish come in different color?
Ooh, like a rainbow trout.
Rainbow trout or a betta or all kinds of things. As a fish enthusiast myself, I'm really curious to know.
So we got an answer from Dr. Karen Alofs, who is a biologist who studies freshwater fish.
Hi, Eloise. Thanks for the question. Fish produce color in cells that are called chromatophores that are in their skin, where granules of color pigments, black, gray, brown, purple, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red, all aggregate to the center of a cell in order to make a fish lighter or disperse around that cell in order to change colors and make colors more vivid or dark.
Karen is saying that there are special cells in the fish's skin that help them create color. So whether there's a lot of these in the center of the cell or if they're spread out amongst the cell controls whether they show up as really dark colors or lighter colors.
And this type of coloration is called biological coloration, and that's because the color pigments come from the organisms that the fish eat, like zooplankton, which are small crustacean animals. And the zooplankton get the pigments from phytoplankton or algae.
So fish basically are what they eat.
Just like me, turned into a donut.
As opposed to biological color, there's also structural color, which is usually from reflections created from guanine crystals that reflect the light in a fish's environment, making fishes look silver, blue, or white, depending on the orientation and the arrangement of these crystals.
I have to say, I didn't expect that fish colors would be this complicated. I just figured there was a marker or something that colored them in.
I didn't expect that there would be crystals involved.
It always comes down to crystals, doesn't it?
They're very tiny crystals. They're not literally bejeweled.
It would be funny if they were, if you discovered a fish species that just had a necklace.
What I find more interesting is not how fishes make their colors, but why they have different colors. And there's a lot of different reasons. Many of them are related to genetics, so color patterns inherited across generations in different species. And these patterns and colorations can have evolved through selection, where fish with certain colors survive longer and have more offspring and pass on their genes to more individuals. And these colors can help fish do things like avoid predators. So they might avoid being eaten by another fish by having very bright colors that would indicate to that fish that they're toxic. Or they may have very dull colors that blend with their environment and allow them to camouflage and hide from potential predators.
So that is that classic Darwin natural selection where traits are passed down if they help the fish survive.
Yeah, so I guess some fish survive better if they're like bright pink and others survive better if they're brown. Okay, are we ready for our last and final question? Last and final, that's redundant. Are we ready for our next and final question?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so here it is from Ayla.
My name is Ayla. I live in Nashua, New Hampshire, and I'm 5 years old. But I'm 5 3/4 now, and I lost a tooth. And also, how big is infinity, and why is infinity plus anything equals infinity? And why does infinity never end? And why do the numbers never end?
Wait, first of all, congratulations, Ayla, for losing a tooth.
That's always a huge deal.
I think it can spur some pretty big thoughts and some pretty good questions like Ayla had.
Yeah. So our expert for this question is actually me, because yes. So I asked myself, no. So
Wait, why are you an expert on infinity? Explain.
Well, because Ayla, this actually isn't a science question as much as it's a math question. And I was actually a math teacher for a couple of years, kind of a long time ago. And one of the things that you deal with a lot when you're teaching math is infinity.
Why? Because there's infinity questions from students?
Well, not exactly, but sure. Why not? Why not that? Okay, so a couple of things. So first, Lindsay,
Yes.
what is infinity? Do you know what infinity is?
Infinity is that numbers go on forever with no end.
Yeah, well, exactly. So if you can think of the biggest number you can think of, what's the biggest number you can think of?
A million, gazillion, a billion to trillion.
Sure. Okay. That's not a real number, but we'll go with it. Okay. So that's the biggest. So let's just say okay, that must be the biggest number, right?
Yeah,
That's
that I
out
can
there.
think of.
Yeah. It's just the biggest number, right? So is there a number that's bigger than that?
+1.
That +1 would be a bigger number, right? So any number you can think of, there's always a bigger number than it just by adding 1, right? We could just say Splurgnorg. Splurgnorg is the biggest number in the universe, right? But there's a number that's bigger than Splurgnorg. It would be Splurgnorg +1.
That's a very frustrating thing about Splurgnorg.
That's the thing about Splurgnorg. So there is no biggest number. It just goes on forever and ever and ever. So that's why we came up with the concept of infinity, which is just it means that there's no end. It's just forever. Got it?
So if you're getting in an argument with somebody and you're infinity +1, do you win that argument?
Well, I guess whoever says infinity first wins it, because infinity +1 is still infinity.
So frustrating. So just be the first one to say infinity, and when the other person's infinity +1, be
No, that's the same thing.
Same thing.
I win. Right? So, maybe one way to think of infinity is it's just the number that's bigger than Splurgnorg.
Yeah, try explaining that to your friend.
Just from now on, what's infinity? It's the number that's bigger than Splurgnorg.
All right. Well, this has been so fun. I've learned a lot, and I hope that our listeners have also learned a lot.
Yeah, and we really want you to keep the questions coming. You can email them to us at tumblepodcast@gmail.com or go through our website, sciencepodcastforkids.com. Just make sure in your question you say your name, first names only, please, age, your question, what you think the answer is, and how scientists would find out.
And if you want to give us any other kind of feedback, tell us especially how you like this mailbag episode and if we should do more. You can send us an email, you can leave a comment on Spotify for this episode, and you can also do reviews and ratings for us on Apple Podcasts. They do help other people find out about Tumble, and we really encourage you do them along with a parent. But if you have questions in those comments and reviews, please send them via email so we can actually respond.
We'd love to hear your feedback on this episode. What did you like? What do you want to hear more or less of? We're trying out new things all this summer while we work on new episodes for the next season about all kinds of awesome stuff, which,
Top secret.
Top secret, you'll see.
Thanks today to our experts, Dr. David Lowery at Michigan State University, Dr. Rachel Berman, and Dr. Karen Alofs at the University of Michigan.
If you want to support Tumble so that we can keep making more episodes, just join our Patreon, starting at just $1 a month at patreon.com/TumblePodcast.
I'm Lindsay Patterson, and I wrote this show.
And I'm Marshall Escamilla, and I produced this episode. Tumble is produced by Tumble Media. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more stories of science discovery. All right, and that brings us to the end of the episode, and I'd like to give a big shout out to everyone who's supporting us on Patreon, including our new patrons, Hannah and Rishiv. Thanks so much, you guys. But we've also got some birthday shout outs for a happy 9th birthday to Xander on July 30th. Keep learning, science buddy. Happy 6th birthday on August 2nd to Steve, the future brain scientist from Mom, Dad, and Joe. They're all so proud of your weird and wonderful brain, which hopefully you'll study someday. To Louis Irwin, happy birthday on August 5th. May the poop be with you. Thanks to all of you and to everyone who supports Tumble on Patreon. If you want to get a birthday shout-out of your own like these fine folks, simply support Tumble on Patreon at the $5 level or higher by going to patreon.com/TumblePodcast, or if you're on Spotify, just tap the subscribe button. I'd also like to remind everybody about our Science Songs album, Science Songs Volume 1, which you can stream wherever you get your music, on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever, or on Bandcamp. And to any of you who are still hanging around, I just want to remind you to donate to support the flood relief in Central Texas by going to bit.ly/TumbleTexasFloods, all lowercase. In case you need a reference, links to everything will be in the episode description. And thanks for sticking around, y'all. I'll see you next time.